family. That's just a wonderful thing for you.
The judge then asked about his son's age.
How old is your son?
63.
Yeah. And Daddy's still taking care of him, right?
I only drive when I have to.
Yeah.
After that, Judge Caprio pointed towards
I
someone.
don't drive that fast, Judge. I'm 96 years old, and I drive slowly, and I only drive when I have to. I was going to the blood work for my boy. That was Victor Caller, 96 years old, standing in front of a judge, facing a speeding ticket in a school zone. He had no lawyer. He had no carefully crafted defense. He just told the truth. And the moment he did, the city's entire case against him fell apart in a way no one in that courtroom expected. The city thought this would be simple. A fine, a quick hearing, revenue for the municipal budget. But that is not what happened. What happened instead is a masterclass in what can occur when a judge decides that the law means more than just statutes and penalties, and that justice is something far more personal than a fine. Judge Frank Caprio presided over the Providence Municipal Court for decades, and by the time Victor Caller walked into his courtroom, Caprio had already become known around the world as America's nicest judge. But nice is not the same as lenient. It is not the same as weak. Caprio's approach was something far more intentional. He understood that the law gives a judge enormous power. The power to impose fines, to assess costs, to suspend licenses. But it also gives a judge something else. Discretion. The ability to look at the person standing before the bench, not just the charge on the docket. And in Victor Caller's case, that discretion would collide with the city's expectations in a single devastating moment. The charge was straightforward. Victor Caller had been clocked exceeding the speed limit in a school zone. That is a serious infraction. School zones exist to protect children, and judges do not typically treat those violations lightly. The prosecutor was ready. The fine was on the table. The city's case, as far as the law was concerned, was airtight. And then Caprio asked the only question that mattered. Mr. Caller, you are charged with a school zone violation. What do you want to tell me about that? Victor did not offer an excuse. He did not argue with the radar gun or question the signage. He simply explained what he was doing.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you too.
I love you too.
I love you too.
Thank you.
I love you.
I don't have it in me to ask you for any money. And I'm going to dismiss the tickets.
Thank you.
Can I give you a hug?
Come on up here.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge.
The defendant in front of Judge Caprio is Victor Caller, a 96-year-old man facing charges of speeding in a school zone.
Mr. Caller, you are charged with a school zone violation.
Beg pardon?
You are charged with a school zone violation, which means that you were exceeding the speed limit in a school zone.
But Caller wasn't the type to go that fast for no reason, and what the 96-year-old explained next brought the entire courtroom to tears.
I don't drive that fast, Judge. I'm 96 years old and I drive slowly, and I only drive when I have to. I was going to the blood work for my boy. He's handicapped.
You were taking your son to the doctor's office?
Yeah, I take him for blood work every 2 weeks because he's got cancer.
You are a good man. You are a good man. You really are what America is all about. Here you are in your 90s, and you're still taking care of your family. That's just a wonderful thing for you.
The judge then asked about his son's age.
How old is your son?
63.
Yeah. And Daddy's still taking care of him, right?
Yeah. I only drive when I have to.
Yeah.
After that, Judge Caprio pointed towards someone sitting in the back.
You see that young man over there? That's my son. Now, he's looking at me saying, Dad, when you're in your 90s, you're going to be driving me around. You're setting a bad example for my kid. You're putting a lot of pressure on me.
But what was the judge going to do about Collella's case?
Listen, sir, I wish you all the best. I wish the best for your son, and I wish you good health, and your case is dismissed. Good luck to you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Colella and Judge Caprio went on to become friends and even appeared in
He was driving his son to a doctor's appointment for blood work. His son is handicapped, he has cancer, and Victor, at 96 years old, is still the one who takes him every 2 weeks. The courtroom shifted, the air changed. Caprio leaned forward. You were taking your son to the doctor's office? Yeah, I take him for blood work every 2 weeks because he's got cancer. Those words did not just explain a speeding ticket. They revealed a life. A 96-year-old father, still showing up, still driving, still caring for his 63-year-old son. Caprio didn't need to deliberate. He didn't need to weigh precedent. He looked at Victor Calla and said something that the city probably never wanted to hear in response to a school zone violation.
And even appeared in a cooking show hosted by the judge's son.
I want to tell you something. Best people I ever had in my life is the judge and his son and his guest. Everybody was fantastic. I'm really speechless.
Caprio dismissed the 96-year-old's speeding ticket after hearing his story. But would a grieving mother with multiple offenses receive the same mercy?
I'm just really having a tough time, Your Honor.
Like in the case of Andrea, who had 5
You
unpaid...
are a good man. You really are what America is all about. Here you are in your 90s, and you're still taking care of your family. That's just a wonderful thing for you. And then, the moment of pure Caprio. He pointed to a young man sitting in the back of the courtroom, his own son.
You prosecute those tickets?
No, Your Honor, not from 04, 05. We won't even have copies of those, Your Honor.
Those matters are going to be dismissed.
I wasn't aware of them. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well,
Thank you.
The issue isn't whether you are aware of them. The issue is whether or not they were placed on the vehicle, and they were.
Then, the judge went over the tickets that were still active.
Then you got a ticket on Friendship Street in 2008. That was a parking meter on Friendship Street. That's going to cost you
And he
$25.
said, "You see that young man over there? That's my son now. He's looking at me saying, Dad, when you're in your 90s, you're going to be driving me around. You're setting a bad example for my kid. You're putting a lot of pressure on me." The courtroom erupted in laughter. The tension dissolved. But the legal question remained. What was the judge going to do about the ticket? The city had its rules. The school zone speed limit was posted. The violation was captured. The fine was owed. But Frank Caprio had something the city did not. The full picture. And when a judge sees the full picture, the outcome is never as predictable as a statute might suggest. This is where the story pauses. Not because it is over, but because what happened next reveals something crucial about the American legal system that most people never see. The law is not a machine. It is not an algorithm that spits out the same result every time the same inputs are entered. The law is administered by human beings, and human beings have discretion. The word discretion gets thrown around a lot in legal circles, but its actual power is staggering. Discretion means a judge can consider factors that the written law never anticipated. It means the person standing in front of the bench matters just as much as the charge written on the paper. And when that discretion is exercised with wisdom, the result can be extraordinary. But it can also be terrifying for those who want the law to function like a revenue engine. Because when a judge starts asking why someone was speeding, the entire equation changes. Before we find out exactly how Judge Caprio ruled on Victor Callas' ticket, it is worth understanding one more thing about how this particular judge approached his courtroom. Because what he did for Victor was not an isolated act of mercy, it was a philosophy. A philosophy that would soon leave the city with nothing but an empty docket and a room full of people who believed in justice again. Take the case of Christian Arroyo, a homeless man whose car had been booted. He had bought the car from someone who was not the original owner, had no title, and had parked it with the wrong plates. The city was ready to crush him. He had fines, he had no money, and the car was his only shelter. When Caprio heard that, he did not just dismiss the fines. He reached into a fund named after his own mother, the Philomena Fund, and paid the boot fee himself out of donated money so that Christian could have his home back.
It was the case of Carrie Hopkins, who made the judge laugh within seconds of her appearance.
Can you hear me? I think I can hear me.
You're charged with parking during an emergency. What do you want to tell me about this?
Well, Your Honor, I heard we were going to get snow. I parked at my friend's house.
Where'd you hear that? Who told you?
There was word of mouth.
Who's informing Inspector Quinn?
I heard my parents said we're going to get snow later as my stepfather.
Oh, your parents? It wasn't the meteorologist, was it? It was your parents?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Hopkins continued her story.
So I wasn't aware of how much snow, and my only option for parking was on the street. I was at a friend's house,
Hopkins' car got towed, and the towing company advised her to act like a...
Take the case of Andrea, a grieving mother whose son had been killed, whose social security had been cut off, who had been evicted, and who was slapped with parking ticket after parking ticket while she was just trying to survive. Caprio listened. He took in the horrific cascade of events, and then he reduced her fines to $50. When she pulled out her last $55 and would have been left with $5, he dismissed everything.
Okay.
With each question, Sophia seemed more adamant to make her mom pay.
I don't want to shatter her opinion of the judiciary.
Maybe I can explain to her that if mommy keep the money on her pocket, she can get a toy.
Okay, I'm going to have your mommy talk to you, and then I'll ask you again. Okay, you want to talk to your daughter?
Yes. See, if mommy doesn't pay this because you know that mom works a lot, then I will have some money, and then we can get a little toy. You know what I mean?
With that explanation, Sophia's mom had some hope of getting leniency from her.
All right, should I charge her nothing, or should I charge her 20?
20.
20?
You know
This
what, Your
is
Honor?
not helping.
She is the good one. She didn't fall for that bribe in open court.
Okay, I can tell you.
She's going to be a good judge or a lawyer.
I can tell you right now, every governor in the country is going to make you a judge because they like the way you think.
The judge
Not because the tickets were invalid, because he could. Because the law gives a judge the power to say, not here, not today, not on my watch. This is the discretion that the city's case against Victor Callas was about to collide with. The city expected a simple guilty finding, a fine paid, a case closed. But Caprio had seen the man behind the violation. And now, the moment of decision. Caprio looked at Victor. He did not reach for a statute book. He did not calculate the fine schedule. He spoke from something older and more fundamental than municipal code camera.
You got $50, and now you have 4 parking tickets.
Are you talking about the most recent ones?
Most
now?
recent ones, right.
Then, Andrea explained why she got one of the parking tickets, and her story was heartbreaking.
The one on 11-1, I went to Social Security because they had cut my check. Because my son was recently killed last year. So they cut my check because he had owed money.
Who?
My son was killed March of last year, right?
Listen, sir, I wish you all the best. I wish the best for your son, and I wish you good health. And your case is dismissed. Dismissed. The word landed like a gavel, but softer, heavier, more final. There would be no fine, no points on a license, no penalty of any kind. The city's expectation of revenue evaporated right there in the courtroom. Victor Callas, 96 years old, caregiver to his handicapped son, walked out of that courtroom with his dignity intact and his wallet untouched. And the city? The city got nothing. Not a cent. Not a conviction. The case did not end well for the city at all. Now, ask yourself a question. If you were the judge, what would you have done? The law gave you every right to impose that fine. The school's own statute exists for a reason. Children's safety is not a small matter. But when you look at a 96-year-old man who was rushing to get his son to cancer treatment, does the letter of the law really demand that you punish him? Or does it demand something more? This is not a rhetorical question. It is the core tension of every courtroom in America, and it is exactly the kind of question that keeps a legally curious mind up at night. That is why this single, quiet moment in a Providence Municipal Courtroom became one of the most watched legal clips in history. Not because it was dramatic, not because there was a screaming match or a shocking revelation, but because it showed what happens when a judge uses his power for something other than revenue collection. It showed that the system can work, that the person behind the bench can see the person in front of it, and that when that happens, the city's expectations are the first thing to collapse. Frank Caprio died after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. His passing has been mourned around the world, not by lawyers alone, but by everyday people who saw in his courtroom a version of justice they had been taught to believe in, but rarely witnessed. The lesson he leaves behind is not sentimental, it is practical, it is usable. The next time you find yourself in a courtroom, as a defendant, as a juror, as an observer, remember that the law is not just words on paper. It is administered by people. And you have the right to be seen as a person, not just a case number. A good judge will want to hear your story. A wise judge will understand that circumstances matter. And if you ever stand before a judge like Frank Caprio, you will discover that the law has a human face, and that sometimes justice means letting the ticket go. Victor Carla's speeding ticket did not end well for the city. It ended well for everyone else. And that, ultimately, is the point.